Okay, so the easiest way, or the way I would solve this puzzle, is to go from the end back to the beginning. I've seen some of my friends solve it from the beginning to the end, um, but no, we will go backward for this explanation. Right. I'm just gonna draw a cube. Right. Now, um, according to the rule, right, we need to end on this green flag with the number 0 on top. So obviously the square on the green flag would look like this. And now we will like gradually fill in the other spaces. For this arrow, what would the square for it look like? From this arrow to go to this green flag, we need to move one square. So the number on top of this square must be 1, right? Now, when this square move row one time, this face will become the face in the back, and this face at the front will become the top face. So this front face must be 0. Makes sense. What about from this arrow? From this arrow to this arrow, we need to roll twice. So the top must be 2. Now, after we roll twice, we will end up with this cube, right? So how would that look? This top face will become the bottom face, and the bottom will go to the top, right? So the bottom face must be 1. I'm gonna draw it smaller than that. Now, because we are rolling sideways, correct? We are rolling sideways like this. So the face at the front doesn't change. So this face at the front is still 0. So we are now here, we're now looking at this. Now we have two options. The cube can start from growth and go to this arrow, from this arrow, or this arrow. So we have two options. Right, so let's say it go from this arrow, then it must roll twice to get here. So that means that there is number 2 on top. Now if there's a number 2 on top, then this will go to the bottom, right? And the bottom face will now go to the top after it rolls twice. And because the top face of this one is 2, then this one, the bottom face of this one must be 2. But now it doesn't make sense, right? Now suddenly we don't have the number 1 anymore. So this doesn't make sense. So it must be the other option. It must be that it start rolling from this arrow. So that means we need to roll once, correct? So the top face of here is 1. It after rolling once, we end up with number 2 on top, right? After rolling once, we end up with the number 2 on top. So number 2 must be here. All right, following that path, we will have number 0 at the bottom, and number 1 at the back. We have deduced that the square and the cube move from this arrow to this arrow. So now to get to this arrow, there's only one way. We must go from this arrow, right? So that's a one-step roll. So we do the same thing. The face on top must be 1. Now it end up with number 1 at the top. So that is 1. Now continue. Now that this one is actually this one right here, right? So this there will be a 2 here and 2 at the bottom and 0 at the back. Yeah, we only have one option here, right? We can only go from this arrow to this arrow. We can't go from here to here because we don't have number 3. We only have option 1, 2, and 5. The number on top is 2. Now, this time the cube is rolling sideways again. So the number at the front doesn't change. So now after 2 rows, this becomes the number at the bottom, and the bottom becomes the number at the front. So the bottom number must be 1. The number at the back, similar to number at the front, doesn't change, so it's 0. Let's move on to the next cube. I really need to get better at using XP pen. Anyway, we are faced with the same problem. We can go 1 step from here to this arrow, or 2 steps from here to this arrow. It's actually just the same reasoning as the previous time at like here. So if you go 2 steps straight here from here, then now you're gonna have to go 2 steps again from this arrow to this arrow. That it will actually create like a loop, right? So the number 2 at the top has to turn to the number 2 at the bottom. So it's almost, it will never be number 2. It will be double 1. Right? So it's from here to here, and then from here to here. 1 step, right? 1 step. Now we are rolling sideways. So the number at the front doesn't change. So it's 1 and 0. So this face will go into here, and this side face will go into the top. So this side face must be 2. Does that look correct? Opposite that 2, we have number 1. So we put the number 1 there. Yeah, that looks correct. Yeah. Similarly, we need to go to this arrow to this arrow. We can do that. Let's have another cube. Number 1 at the top. Now the front face and the back doesn't change because we are rolling sideways. It will end up with this. So again, this face must be 1, right? Then the bottom one must be 2. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Right, I'm gonna take this thing and bring it over here. So this cube is here, right? Now we need to go from this arrow to this arrow. That means we need the number 2 at the top. We must roll twice to get here. After rolling twice, this will end up at the bottom will end up at the top. So the bottom of this must be the top of the next one. So this is 1. We are rolling like forward basically. So the 2 side doesn't change. This will just be 1, and this will still hasn't been filled in yet, so just leave it there. Okay, this side, after rolling twice, this front face will go to the back, and the back will go out to the front. So this front face will be 0 and the back will be 1. Mm-hmm. All right. For the final step, we know that we need to go from the start to this arrow link, of course. So there must be number 5 on top. But here's the thing. Instead of like trying to imagine the cube rolling to the right 5 times, think of it as it rolls 4 times, right? So roll and then roll another 1 time. When the cube rolls 4 times in the same direction, it just end up at the exact same orientation. So after rolling 4 times, the cube still look like this. Still look exactly like this. So after the extra one roll, it will look like this. Just think about it as one row. So one row, then this top face will go here, and this side face will go to the top. So this side face will be the top of the next one. So 2 is here. Alright, so next to 2 we have 1. We are rolling sideways. So this is the bottom is just 1. And next to that one is another 1. We are rolling sideways to the front and the back doesn't change, so this will be number 0 and the back is just number 1. Now let's draw this cube out in like flattened form. I don't know what they call it in math, but 5, that's 1, the size 2, 0, this 1, 1. Okay, is that correct? Okay. Yep, see, exactly the same. Alright, that's the answer.